And it's showtime. It's 7 p.m. on Wednesday, Eastern Time, here in Asheville, North Carolina. And today, as usual, I am coming to you live for some discussion and engagement and connection, and to answer all your questions, any and all of your questions that you might have, that I can answer in the scope of my practice and knowledge. And today I can say I'm a survivor of a storm. I can mark myself safe from the storm that we had, but whew, that was intense for a few minutes. We had a big storm come through Western North Carolina. Thankfully, where I live, or where was at that time, it wasn't a big deal, meaning at least there was no hail. Some other parts of Buncombe County and some other counties around Asheville had some pretty crazy hail. And I think even in eastern part of North Carolina, they had some big hail. Some people were posting pictures of hail this big. So, but strong winds, rain, we had to do roof inspection for one of our clients who are under contract. And as soon as the roofer got on the roof, it started storming, it started raining, and the wind, it was not safe. Anyways, we had to reschedule. But right now, I can mark myself safe from that storm. It was crazy. So much humidity, it got so much colder, but now it's back to normal and like nothing happened. A lot of down trees. I hope everyone is safe and didn't have much damage done to themselves and to their property, because it definitely can be scary, especially with strong winds. The trees can be down and it's can be dangerous. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about what it's like in Asheville to buy a house and how it's done here. After not the last live, but I guess one of the one before, or some other ones, some other videos that I posted, I can't even remember. I had a few people reach out to me that were a little bit confused about what I said, and there was some misunderstanding. So I wanted to come and clarify, because some people got completely freaked out because they misunderstood what I said. So I wanted to clarify a few things, few key things. So if you have any questions along the way, please put them in the comments. Also, put in the comments where you are joining from. It's always fun to connect that way and see where people are joining from, whether it's different state or different county, different part of town. Put it in the comments and bring your questions along the way. All right. So, every area, every state is different. So what I tell people, even if you just maybe bought or sold a house somewhere else, in a different state, in a different market, it might be different here. First of all, North Carolina laws and rules might be different, but then it's real estate market is hyper local, so there's some differences in market to market. So that's what I wanted to come and chat with you real quick about and clarify a few things. It's not as bad as some people might think, but there are some differences. So, first of all, what you need to know about North Carolina is that North Carolina is a non-disclosure state. Sellers do not have to disclose anything in North Carolina. Um, it's kind of weird that it's a non-disclosure state. They don't have to disclose anything, but there is a mandatory form, seller disclosure form, that they have to fill out when they list a property with a real estate agent, and it goes into MLS. It's mandatory, and of course, there are questions like about the condition of the property, about the age of certain systems, the roof, if they know if there are any problems with things like HVAC, hot water heater, structural, roof, foundation, electrical, anything like that. So they answer yes, no, or no representation. And we encourage people to answer as truthfully as they can. um, and sometimes you have disclosures that are marked no representation, just on all the questions are asked, answered no representation. So that can be a red flag, because why sellers do not want to say yes or no. That can be a red flag unless sellers never lived in the house or haven't lived in the house for the past few months, a year, it's been a rental. Then it's appropriate and acceptable, so to speak, to mark no representation, because they don't want to take responsibility to say yes or no because they haven't lived in the house, or maybe they inherited the property, or maybe it was the parents' property and they died and now the children are selling the property, stuff like that. uh, so for you as a buyer, it's a good starting point, meaning that it can give some insight about the condition of the property, and even about things like the age of the roof, the age of HVAC, the age of hot water heater, anything that can be helpful. But you can't hold sellers kind of accountable for whatever they said if you discover something different. That, let's say they said there is no issue with the roof, but you did an inspection and it came back with some issues on the roof. It doesn't mean that you can say, well, you breaching the contract, you lied, whatever. First of all, sellers, for example, me, if I were to sell my house, well, what if I were to sell my house, I would do an inspection prior to listing the house. But hypothetically, if I was not a realtor and I did not know any better, if I were to sell my house and the question, do you know if there are any issues with the roof? I would say no, because I've never been on my roof. I have no idea. It doesn't leak. It doesn't look like it's leaking. So I'm going to say no. But then somebody comes and does an inspection and they find that there is some issues, right? So it's kind of like, unless you are a contractor, you probably would know about something about the house, but regular people would not know those things. So that's number one. North Carolina is a non-disclosure state. Second is North Carolina, is a buyer beware state. So you as a buyer have opportunity and you have time to investigate the property up and down, to do all kinds of inspections. Basically, you can spend as much money as you want on inspections. That's your right. Unlike some other states where you can waive inspections to get, to put a better foot forward, you can say, oh, I'm not going to do inspections. Here, the seller doesn't care whether you do inspections or you don't, because once you go on the contract, the seller does not have to negotiate anything. So once you go on the contract, you negotiate the price, you negotiate the terms up front, the seller agrees, everyone agrees. Once you go on the contract, after that point, the seller does not have to negotiate. And it even says in the contract, every house is sold as is unless it's new construction. And, that's, like I said, that's in the contract. However, and that kind of freaks some people out, that, how are we going to, go on the contract without knowing and not being able to negotiate. Even though the seller does not have to negotiate, a lot of times they still do. And I always encourage people to focus on the biggest things. Okay. So when we get an inspection report back, or different inspection reports from different, contractors and inspectors, let's focus on the biggest things. Let's not focus on, a door doesn't latch or some little crack here. And let's focus on the biggest things and ask for biggest items, whether it's you asking for repairs or you're asking for money off of the purchase price or seller credit. Let's ask for biggest things. You have more chances to get something big rather than nitpick and get nothing and, have seller frustrated with you. So, and I say that a lot of times sellers still negotiate, because if it's a big enough issue, it's going to be the same issue that the next buyer will have, and they're going to have to, deal with it. And a lot of times sellers don't want to go back on the market, they want to keep the deal together, right? Unless something, happen and they want to get out of the contract. But, a lot of times they still do. With that, I still like to prepare my buyers, my clients, that Seller does not have to negotiate, so just be prepared. Kind of have that in the back of your mind. Um, so what's the big deal about that, right? The big deal about that is that in North Carolina, every seller expects two types of deposits with an offer. So when you make an offer, it's not just purchase price, of course, depending on the market, whether it's bidding war or not. It can be below asking, at asking, or above asking, but also two types of deposits. And that's where the kind of the tricky part comes in. So the first deposit is called due diligence money deposit. Due diligence money deposit is I would say, crucial one. And along with purchase price, due diligence money deposit and the purchase price are what win bidding wars. Those two things. Well, in the terms sometimes. Due diligence money deposit is non-refundable. Basically, there are only two conditions when you can get the money back. Seller breaches the contract, or there's something that's off with permits and stuff like that, but still seller still has the chance to cure those issues. But if they breach the contract, you get the money back. I've never seen a seller breach the contract, at least with my clients. So basically, once you go on the contract and that deposit is due, it's non-refundable. Unless, of course, you purchase the property. If you purchase the property, if you close on the property, that deposit and the second deposit go towards purchase price. So it's not in addition to purchase price. Let's say $500,000 house, you make hypothetically $1,000 due diligence money deposit. At the end, you will pay that much less. Okay. Now, second deposit is earnest money deposit. And, it's due within 5 days, unlike due diligence money deposit that is due right away. Earnest money deposit is due within 5 days. It is typically around 5% of purchase price. It is refundable if you terminate the contract within your due diligence period. So you have a period, and everything is negotiable along with the terms and the dates. It can be a week, it can be 2 weeks, it can be 3 weeks, 4 weeks, everything is negotiable. If you terminate the contract within that period, you get your second deposit back. If you terminate the contract after the end of your due diligence period, but before the closing, which you as a buyer can still do, you will lose your second deposit. Now, little clarification, and that's very important, and that's what kind of tripped a lot of people. Due diligence money deposit is not due when you make an offer. So when you send in an offer, that's not when the money is due. You're not sending the money. The due diligence money deposit, both deposits, are only due if you go on the contract. So let's say the seller got several offers, right? They're looking at the offers, what's the best offer, highest and best for them. They pick one offer, they sign it, they communicate back to us, to buyer's agent, to the buyers. Everyone knows that you are on the contract. Only then the due diligence money deposit is due. It is due right away. That's what it says in the contract. It's due immediately. But realistically, everyone knows that we have a lot of people from out of state, from out of town. They are not here a lot of times to, sometimes even make an offer. I just had somebody go on the contract sight unseen. And it is acceptable to have that 24-hour period to deliver the deposit. It can be done through a wire if the seller is capable to accept a wire, or a lot of times it's overnight. If you're in a different state, in a different country, hopefully not. The different country, actually, I had somebody that would be impossible because you cannot overnight it. So scratch that. If you're in a different state, in a different town, you will just overnight your due diligence money check along with a copy of the receipt, a copy of the tracking number, so that everyone knows that you send it. If you don't send it, if the seller doesn't get it in a timely fashion, they can terminate the contract. Then you will be in breach of the contract. So that's due diligence money deposit. Earnest money deposit is due within 5 days. So you have a little more time. You do not have to overnight it, and it is delivered to the attorney's office. So due diligence money deposit, let me go back. Due diligence money deposit is written and wired. The check is written or the wire is wired to the seller, directly to the seller. The seller can go and cash that check and spend the money. It's theirs. Earnest money deposit is held in trust account. In this area, it is usually maintained, the trust account is maintained by attorney's office. So attorney's office who will represent you in the sale of the property, in the purchase of the property, will hold the earnest money deposit. So be prepared for both checks to clear your account. And let me know if you have any questions so far. I know that's a lot of information, but that's basically the spiel that I give to every client that I have, either on the first consultation or at the second consultation. And, I follow up with an email that has all this information so that every client has this information in front of them for reference. But of course, along the way, it's repeated a lot of times throughout the transactions, what the next step is, what it means, what to do, what to expect, and stuff like that. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments, if what I said makes sense. So 2 types of deposits. Those basically are the only is North Carolina in regard to these matters. What matters exactly? I need clarification, I think, to this question. What was I saying? So those 2 deposits are the only compensation that the seller has for potentially lost time and opportunity. Because once you go on the contract, you as a buyer can terminate the contract pretty much at any point for any reason or no reason. You don't even have to explain yourselves. You just changed your mind. You just found something else. I don't know, your financing fell through. You anything. You can terminate the contract at any point. The seller, however, is kind of stuck with you as a buyer. They cannot terminate, even if they got a better offer. And sometimes they do get a better offer, and they can get a backup offer. The seller is stuck with you. They cannot do anything about it. They cannot get out of the contract unless you terminate. So those 2 deposits are the only compensation that seller has. The first deposit, non-disclosure, honestly, I have no idea. I only worked in North Carolina. I don't know. I heard other people moving to North Carolina, some of my clients, that it's not how it is in some other states, but every state is so different, and it is all coming out now, especially with all these lawsuits, that how different states are and how different the difference in forms that we have here in North Carolina compared to some other states. It's kind of crazy. I don't know. It's kind of wild. I think there should be, I get it. Every state has the power to create their own laws and regulations, but I don't know. It's kind of wild. So I have no idea. I've never had a license in a different state. I never worked in a different state, but that's how it is in North Carolina. Did that make sense? That was not a really good answer, but that's all I know. All right. So seller, like I said, cannot get out of the contract. You as a buyer can get out of the contract. If you get out of the contract during your due diligence period, you will lose only your first deposit. You're welcome. If you terminate the contract after the end of due diligence period, but before the closing, which you can do, or sometimes loans fall through and financing falls through. Let's say you decided, you got so excited and went and got a new credit card at West Elm and bought all the furniture for the new house. That's a big no-no. Or bought a new car. That's a big no-no. That can, definitely um, jeopardize your loan. So if you terminate your contract after the end of due diligence, but before the closing, you will lose your second deposit. Now, due diligence money deposit, like I said, unlike earnest money deposit, where it's 1% traditionally, due diligence money deposit can be all over the place. Again, everything is negotiable. Due diligence money deposit depends on the condition of the property, how many days on the market it's been on, and if there are multiple offers or not. If there are multiple offers on the property, due diligence money deposit needs to be substantial to win that bidding war. Again, like I said in the beginning, it's the purchase price along with due diligence money deposit that matters a lot to most sellers. It can be tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the price of the property too. I've seen some $50,000 deposits. In that case, you better be sure that you're going to be buying the property. And this is kind of a way to waive your inspections, because if something comes up and you don't like it and the seller doesn't want to negotiate, the seller gets to keep your $50,000, and you can walk away and lose the money. Now, that's not to scare anybody. That does not happen very often. Those days are kind of gone, I hope. Those were 2-3 years ago, right after pandemic, when we had crazy bidding wars and crazy deposits. So these days, I just had a property go on the contract for my sellers, and we had few offers that had $10,000, $12,000 even due diligence money deposit. It was a pretty new house, a newer home. So I mean, you can also judge by the condition of the property, the age, if you want to risk so much money or not. But again, it can be hundreds of dollars, or it can be thousands of dollars. It depends on the condition of the property, of the how many days on the market. If it's been on the market for 2 months, there were no offers, there's no reason to offer a lot. So you want to kind of put your best foot forward and not offend the seller, but also don't want to risk a whole lot of money up front, or offer a lot of money up front. They can always come back and ask for more. you know in any case, your agent, your realtor, should be able to guide you through all these steps and explain the risks and the steps, what to expect. If you do this, this is what you can expect, and stuff like that. This is what I do with my clients. And it doesn't always work out, when especially there are bidding wars. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it's just a guessing game. Seriously, it's a guessing game how much you want to offer over asking. But also, some people would say, oh, I want to offer like $50,000 over, and then we can have a conversation. Well, does it make financial sense to do that? And how much do you want this property? Also, if you're getting a loan, and that's what happened with my sellers just now, who are still under contract closing this week. We got an offer. The one that they accepted ultimately was the one that had appraisal waiver. The buyers signed appraisal waiver saying that no matter the appraised price, they have money in a bank to cover the difference, and they will buy the property regardless. Um, so that's ultimately was one of the big reasons why my sellers accepted that offer, because of the appraisal waiver. Um, so yeah, those are kind of quirky little things that are specific to North Carolina in general, and Asheville in particular. In regards to market, again, let me know if you have any questions along the way, if what I'm saying makes sense. When it comes to the market, there's a lot of properties that are sitting on the market for longer, and we see price reductions, and that kind of give kind of I don't want to say false impression that prices are falling down, the market is crashing, we can just come and buy whatever we want at, and bid under asking. Um, yes, it's true that we have a lot of properties that are just overpriced. People are still living 2 years ago in the market that happened 2 3 years ago, and that's not the case. um, Properties that are positioned correctly and positioned to right under value will go fast. We'll have bidding wars, we'll have multiple offers. So it just, you have to read kind of the market, and it's a case by case kind of situation. Let's say something comes on the market, this new property comes on the market, and I have clients who have been looking for weeks or for months, and nothing that they were looking for came on the market. Nothing close to what they were looking for came on the market. And then this property came on the market. Well, guess what? I mean, I don't even need to look on the MLS. There will be a ton of other people who were waiting for that exact property. And when I make a appointment to look at the property, I can already tell if the schedule is blocked. And if it's blocked, it's most likely because a ton of other people schedules are showing to go look at that property. So that tells me it's going to be a hot property. It's going to be popular property. It's most likely they're going to have multiple offers. Um, so, there's just different ways, especially if you come and look at the property and there are people who are looking at the property right before you, maybe with you. Sometimes they allow overlapping showings, which I hate. And right when you're done, there are people who are waiting for you to get out to look at the property. That's that's definitely a red flag telling you that this property will be hot. Again, there are properties that are overpriced and not moving, and that's a great chance, especially now, to get them under asking or at asking or without bidding wars. But then there are some properties, there are some hot properties that go very quickly over asking with bidding wars. Thankfully, they're not as crazy as we used to have them. So again, when people ask me, is this a good time to buy? You need to really ask yourself, is it a good time to buy for you? Because everyone's situation is so different, is so unique. Some people just have to move. Some, if you don't have to move, I don't know. Does that make financial sense to get a loan at 7 8% or not? But if you can, I think this market is kind of slow. It's kind of sluggish still. It's heating up, but it's not right where it was 2 3 years ago yet. But again, in any case, your agent should be able to guide you and kind of educate you on what's going on in that hyper local market where you're looking at specifically. All right, let me know in the comments if you have any questions about anything I said, and about anything, the process of buying or selling in Western North Carolina, in the Asheville area. Um, it is heating up right now, but it's not quite there yet. And if you position your property correctly, it's gonna go very fast. It's gonna go with, hopefully, and that's the that every seller hopes for multiple offers, right? But not every. So it's just a matter of strategy, marketing, exposure, and preparing your property to be in a top shelf condition. All right, let me know in the comments if you have any questions, as well as where you're joining from. I think I'm about to wrap this up if nobody has any questions. It's looking like a nice evening today, not too hot, not too warm. It's just perfect. A nice golden hour getting ready to happen. So yeah, this video, if well, video, this live will be living on my channel. You can watch it or replay it. It's also gonna go onto my podcast. Living in Asheville podcast. So you can listen to most of the videos in the podcast in the audio form. If you're driving, of course, there won't be any pictures, but you can always refer back and come back here if you want to stay in touch, and if you want to not just stay in touch, with me. It's but kind of keep up with what's going on in Asheville, in the Asheville area. I have a newsletter that you can sign up for. It's the description and the link to it, how to sign up for newsletter, is in the description of every video. So click on it and you will be added to weekly newsletter about all the local happenings in the Asheville area. It's free. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions at all. This weekend is getting ready to be, uh, looks like it's going to be a nice weekend, and it's Mother's Day. I don't have any plans. Actually, I'm planning on working a little bit. Historically, Mother's Day has been a kind of lucky day for me. I would either buy or not buy, I would either find a client for my clients, or something happens for my clients that we've been looking for or waiting for. So a little bit of work, a little bit of fun. I'm gonna take my mom, and probably gonna all go to have some nice breakfasts. Probably, I don't know, maybe in Biltmore. It's not my favorite spot, but it's definitely kids friendly. And when we go out with kids, I wanna the last thing I want is to worry about them, you know, running around or getting up or going somewhere. And Biltmore, the inn, not the inn, but the hotel at Biltmore has a nice dining area, dining room where you can have breakfast or brunch. So probably gonna go there. Really want to go to Sunny Point in West Asheville. Let me know if you've been there, and if you have, what is your favorite meal? What is your favorite item on the menu? I've been dreaming about huevos rancheros, specifically in Sunny Point. Those are my favorite. I tried them at other places, not as good, but Sunny Point has them on point. It's so good. But if you don't get there first, prepare to wait 30 minutes to an hour. And I predict and expect that there will be a long line, and especially on Mother's Day. So we'll see. Maybe I'll wake up as usual at 5 a.m., do my exercises, my yoga, my meditation, and be ready to go. Kids, on the weekend, they wake up so early. I don't know why. So maybe we'll be ready. But I hope everyone is gonna have great weekend. If you have your mom around, kiss her and say her you love her. I'm sure gonna do that because my mom is right here next to me. And if your mom is not around anymore, or physically, or um, big distances between you, I still believe in sending good energy towards your mom and kind of connecting. Now I sound really like an Ashevillean, very woo-woo, right? All right. It doesn't look like anybody has any questions about the specific aspects of buying a house in Asheville, North Carolina. And if you have, of course, you can post them in the comments. I'll get back to you when I see them. Have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of the week. Have a great Mother's Day. If any mothers are watching this video, and I will catch you on the next live and on the next video.